Hi, everyone. This is May Doldelau here. Excuse me. With CanDoItBlog.com. My name is May, M-E-Y, and I'm here today to explain to you 15 steps I took to quit my job and become a full-time mom and entrepreneur. Sorry, it's a long title. It's early in Honolulu. It's actually 6:40 a.m. I usually start these weekly webinars at 6:30 a.m. So I apologize for being 11 minutes late today. I was up late. My son has been sick. You might hear him coughing in the background a little bit. So I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you this morning this very important information because I know a lot of you might really appreciate being a mom like I do. My son is 3 years old, and I started my journey in entrepreneurship back in 2009. And I had a full-time job since 2008. So I know that many of you may be watching this and wondering, how am I going to be able to do what May did? And what I did was I quit my job. My last day was on December 23rd, 2017. And now I'm a full-time mom and entrepreneur. And I did it in a way that I could do it, that my family could afford to do it, and that I do what I love to do, and it feels good. So I know many of you might want to quit your job, but you don't know how you can possibly do it because maybe you have so many expenses to pay or other things that hold you back. So in today's webinar, I'm going to go through 15 steps that I took. And actually, as I was thinking about it, there are even more steps that I took to actually leave my job. It wasn't easy for me to leave a job. Jobs are very secure. They give you steady income. And you need income to pay your rent, pay expenses for your kids. And I'm a very responsible person. I don't want to just leave my child without any support and my husband and my family. So it wasn't easy for me to quit a job. Plus, I have savings. I'm working on becoming financially free, and quitting a job means that my steady income will end. So how did I get to the point where I could quit my job? So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. Just a little bit about myself. I went surfing yesterday. I love surfing, and I like being with my son, playing with him, taking him out on little trips. I really enjoy being a mom. And as an entrepreneur, I do this blog, CanDoItBlog.com. I have another blog called YesFinanciallyFree.com. I'm going to put it on the screen for you just so you can see it. Hold on. Let me see. Sorry. Let me put it on right now. Hold on. Oh, I guess I cannot put it on for you. But anyway, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to get right into the details of how I quit my job and became a full-time entrepreneur and a full-time mom. So let's get started. For those of you who just joined in, get ready, get your notes ready, and we're going to go. And if you miss the whole thing, you can always catch the replay at CanDoItBlog.com. I will show you also. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen. So let me do that. I just got braces on Tuesday too. A lot of things in my life are changing, and I want the same for you. So if you're watching this webinar, the purpose and goal of this webinar is to help you, if you're in a job you hate, to help you quit your job and start doing things that you love and that you've always wanted to do. I don't know if you've always wanted to get braces, but I wanted to have straighter teeth. It was one of the things, plus surf more and all that kind of stuff. So I want that for you too. So that's why I'm doing this webinar, is to share the knowledge that I have about what I did. Okay. So I didn't actually make the full presentation. I'm going to make it while I present this to you. But right now you can see my slide, 15 steps I took to quit my job and become a full-time mom and entrepreneur by May Doldelau. So get ready, put your phone away, get out something to take notes. Turn off your Facebook, Snapchat, all your notifications, whatever it is, Periscope, Twitter, whatever it is that notifies you and you're constantly losing your attention, turn it off. Go to a quiet space and get ready to learn something that could change your life forever. So I'll give you a little time to do that. Make sure you're ready. Okay. You can also hydrate, get some water. All right, so let's begin. Step number 1 is I found my purpose. So when you do a job and if you really don't like, I didn't really like my job. It was okay. I didn't want to do it anymore. So I started with finding my purpose. What did I want to do instead of my job? So if you just want to leave a job, but you don't know what you're going to do when you leave it, it's harder to leave a job because there's nothing to look forward to. And so you need to know what your purpose is. Why do you want to leave your job? So for me, I actually answered some questions. And the questions are, what do you love to do? Okay. So what do you love to do? Doing these things gives you energy, and you could do them all day. Okay, so that's the question that I asked myself. Actually, a coach asked me these questions. I had a life coach. I was in a program called PLD, Pacesetter Leadership's Dynamics. It was a program that I paid for, where I had a coach, and every day I would check in with my coach for 10 minutes on my goals, my dreams, and my progress. And I had made 4 concrete goals. One of those goals was to create a passive income, consistent passive income every month. And he told me that I need to answer this question, because if I want to create this income, I need to know how I'm going to create it. And until I answer this question, I don't know what it is that I love to do and that I could do, because in order to create wealth and to create value, you need to spend time and you need to be committed. And the only way you're going to be that committed and you're going to overcome obstacles that come your way is if you are doing what you love to do. If it's not what you love to do, then you're going to quit, right? So you have to find your purpose. So what do you love to do? Doing these things give you energy. You could do them all day. So I answered the question myself, okay? And these are my answers. My answers were, I love talking to friends about personal growth. Okay. I love writing. I love reading. And I love exercise, especially outdoors. And I love eating healthy. Okay, so these were the 5 things that I came up with. I love talking to friends about personal growth, things that really matter in life. And I think personal growth is something that really matters because it's about becoming a leader, becoming more of who you are, the true potential you could bring to the world. I love writing, and I'm pretty good at it. I love reading. I love it. I love exercise, especially surfing, outdoor stuff like walking, running, surfing, biking. I like to be outdoors, and I like to be active, like actually cardiovascular. Sometimes I do weight training with my husband, but I love exercise. I love eating healthy. And I actually really love making sure that I eat healthy and the people around me eat healthy, because it makes a big difference. It, keeps your weight at the right weight I haven't been overweight since, I don't know, 2008 maybe. I don't think I was even overweight back then. I haven't been overweight for a long time. And one of the reasons is because I eat healthy, but it's not just overweight. In 2009 or 2010, I changed my eating and now I have more energy. I never fall asleep anymore in the middle of the day or anything because I eat healthy. And it created a different lifestyle for me because now I have way more energy and I'm healthy. So these are things that I'm passionate about. That's why I'm talking about it so long with you, because I love it. What about you? Right? So the first step is to find your purpose. Okay? So go ahead and do that for yourself. And you can do it right now. Just list things that you love to do. And then once you make this list, which you can do right now while I'm talking, you're going to be able to see what it is that maybe you could do. Now, when I did this list, I couldn't exactly see what I could do. And I shared it with people in my group of students who are taking this coaching program. And some of them suggested I do blogging. Blogging is when you have a website and you have like updates on it. It's like a website journal, and you just keep doing that. And you can make money doing it by selling services on your blog that people want to have that are related to your blog topic. So I had been blogging before I took this course. However, it had not made me much money. But they said they knew someone who was blogging and he was making a lot of money. So I followed their advice and I started blogging with that person's system. And then I started making more money. So it became more real to me that I actually could make money blogging. And blogging was in the line with what I loved. You write when you blog, you read to figure out what you're going to write about. And I talk to people like on this webinar right now, which is also on my blog. The exercise part, I do have a blog about exercise, but I actually realized I didn't like blogging about it. I just like doing it. And eating healthy, I just like doing it. So, but when I blog for a living, I have more time to exercise and spend time cooking and things like that. Okay, so step number 2. See, I wrote them down on paper, but not on this free. So I did well at my job. So what does that mean? It means that I earned the right to leave my job by outgrowing it. Okay, so what that means is that I was working a job and I realized that, and this is from a book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. Okay, so in that book, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, he talks about if you don't like where you are, if you don't like the job that you're in, and I highly recommend you read this book. It is not a long book, and it's a free book because it was written so long ago. There's no copyright anymore. You can get it online for free. So in this book, he says that if you want to leave your job, you have to outgrow it. So you have to become so good at it that your skill set is above it, right? Because you will only be paid more, get more wealth, if you have more skills, right? So if you develop the capacity to outgrow your job, that's how you can leave it. So if you're not good at your job, unless you really hate your job and you need to switch jobs, that's different. But if this job is something you actually know how to do and you're good at it, then you have to earn the right to leave it. So you take on additional tasks, you take on additional responsibilities, you act like a manager in your job, and you act like the position above you. So you take on more responsibilities and you become even better at it. So what happens with this is you might get promoted, which gives you more money so that you can follow your passions, or you might find a better position for you because now you have more skills and people want you more. Or on top of that, you just come to a place where you can finally leave that job because you've learned everything you need to learn there. You've contributed all you could contribute. And now you're outgrowing it and people know you're going to leave. You know you're going to leave because you just have more capacity to leave now, right? So it's not about I hate my job so I'm quitting. It's about I want to do more with my life. Okay, that's the key, and that changed a lot of my attitudes at work. And so, don't take your work for granted. Work for granted. Somebody employed you, and they're giving you money to do work, and that money is very useful in your life. It's helpful. Without that job, you might be in a real bind. So appreciate what you do and all of that. So let's move on to number 2. Step number 3. So step number 3, learned skills I needed at my job. So the reason you're at your job is because that's the level where you're at. Okay. Now, if you want to leave your job, you need to learn new skills. So I was alluding to this in the last step, but there are skills in your current job that you need to master in order to leave them. So find skills you need at your current job and learn them. Okay, so for example, for me, I needed to learn how to interact with other people better in a job environment. So I needed to learn how to be more clear so that other people understood what I was going to do and how they could help me and my intentions. Because sometimes when we talk to other people, our intentions aren't clear. So then the job doesn't get done well because we didn't explain fully what our intentions are and what needs to be done. So, and that's very hard when you're working, because I was in a team of people and we dealt with customers. So we had to make sure our intentions were very clear so that we didn't do duplicate work and that we got the job done so our customer was happy. Okay. So I'm gonna example for my skills. Clarify intentions with coworkers. And then also clarify with clients what they need. So when clients would call me, they might be complaining about something or say they need something, and I need to ask questions to find out what exactly are they looking for, because they may say that they're frustrated with something, but they don't necessarily tell you what they want. So when I learned to ask a lot of questions so that I was very clear on what the customer wanted from me and how I could help them. And then I also set timelines and expectations. So I would, in the beginning, I would hear a customer's problem and say I would fix it, but I wouldn't tell them like approximately how long it would take me or anything like that. I learned that I needed to set timelines and expectations. So it came to be that a day, it would get done within that day. If they wanted it done and I couldn't do it in a day, I would tell them, is it okay if I get this to you tomorrow or the day after, or however long it takes? And then make sure they understand and know when to expect the request that they had. So I learned to do that. And these are skills that I was not good at, okay, before I had my job. So once I realized that I had to outgrow my job, I focused on what it was at my job that I wasn't doing well, and I improved it. And these are 3 of the skills that I was not doing that well at in the beginning. And then I became much better at it. So these skills are actually extremely important. Also, I just got better at doing my job. So the different daily functions, I got faster at it just because of practice, right? So I just got better at my job. I was there for, let's see, excuse me. Oh, okay. So I was there for like, let's see, 8 years, I guess, around then. 4 years as an analyst and 4 years as a private banking assistant. So this second job was the one where we worked with customers. And it was very hard for me in the beginning at that job, but I learned all of these things that I'm putting here. And I also learned how to sell our products. So I learned a lot. Actually, I learned a lot of skills. Sorry. I was getting a little sick because of my son, so my mom. I'm going to drink a little water here. Sorry about that. Okay. So what are the skills that you need to learn at your job to make yourself better at your job? And maybe that's how to sell. Maybe it's how to talk to customers so that they, feel good. I learned how to talk to customers and satisfy. So when I first started the job, we would have a lot of angry customers. Not a lot, but we would have angry customers who were upset. Be a lot of tension sometimes between the bankers and the customers, and also me. And I realized that if we deliver to the customers in a timely manner, we talk to them, set clear expectations, set timelines, do the job right. If we do all that, the customers are all happy. And I hardly ever got a customer who was unhappy when I was leaving my job at that time. For a whole year, I was very good at my job. So our customers did not complain. In fact, they would say very nice things about me, and I was always doing very well in evaluations. And they would recommend me for promotions. They were very, very happy with how I served them. And they also would talk about how they were just happier customers. And that's because I learned how to service them better. I appreciated my customers. That's another thing. I appreciated them. I appreciated my customers. I appreciated them. I spoke to them on a level that they could feel that I cared about them. All right. So then they didn't get upset or irate. I rarely got a customer that was upset or irate. So they were all pretty happy. Excuse me. And that was a big deal at my job because that was one of the reasons people didn't like the job I had, and it had high turnover, was because of the stress of satisfying these very, very particular customers. So these are the skills that I learned at my job that I needed to learn in my life. Okay? It was like a skill set that I needed to have in order to leave my job, and I needed to get really good at it before I could take that next step. So in your job, maybe there are skills that you need to learn in order to leave it. So that's step number 3. Step number 4. is I felt gratitude for what I did. Okay, so it's basically gratitude. I talked about this already in step number 2. Basically, you need to be grateful for the money you have right now. Grateful for the money I'm earning right now. Grateful for my employer. Grateful for my not employees, coworkers. Grateful for my customers. Grateful for the learning opportunities that I had. Okay. I'm going to put this as I. These are things that I did. So I learned that gratitude was really important to create more in my life. So I started with being grateful for the money that I have right now. So wherever you are in your life, you have a certain amount of money. It might be small, it might be large, but a lot of people, I'll just say myself included, I wasn't always grateful for the money I had, and so I didn't respect it or take good care of it, and it would leave my hands very quickly. So I became grateful for the money I have right now. And then I became grateful for the money that I was earning from my job, right? I was very grateful that there was money coming in from an employer who was established enough to be able to employ me and give me insurance and all these nice benefits. And so I became very grateful for that. Grateful for my employer, grateful for my coworkers, you know, everything they did for me at my job and that I could do for them. I was grateful for the customers. And that's probably why I was good at working with them, because I was very grateful to have them as our customers. Because without customers, there's no money, right? And without any money, there's no job, really. So I was grateful for them. And I was grateful for the learning opportunities that I had at work, right? Because there was a lot of stuff to learn at work. I learned so many things about how to work with other people, how to work in an office setting, how to be efficient and yet also respectful. So there's a lot of things that I learned how to do. So I was very grateful. And I felt that gratitude and I would practice it. Okay, so I practiced, and sometimes I would forget, but when I did practice it daily, then my life was better. You can actually go to a place called gratitudelog.com. It's kind of like Facebook, except it's all about gratitude. So you just put in what you're grateful for, and you can like and comment on other people's gratitude notes. And I used to go on there every day for a while and just post what I'm grateful for that day. So it's a great resource to use. Okay, step number 5. Is I calculated my worth. Okay. What I did was I calculated how much I make at my job. I calculated how much I make as an entrepreneur. And I calculated how much I make as a mother. I also calculated how much I could make as each. So basically, a lot of my problem was I didn't realize my self-worth, and I'm worth more than I thought I was, especially as a mother and also as an entrepreneur. My worth at my job, I had a real-time number. Like I got a paycheck, so I knew how much that was giving me. Okay. The other two, the entrepreneur, I also knew how much, and to be frank with you, it wasn't as much as my job, So that's why I didn't quit. You know, it still isn't, all right? It still is not as much as I make as a job. However, I calculated how much I do make, and I do make something, so it's not like I don't make anything, but I calculated it. And then I also calculated how much I make as a mother. And in terms of money, I don't make anything as a mother. Okay. However, there's a lot of value I give to the family that if I wasn't doing it, and if we paid someone to do what I did, then it would be extremely expensive. So I learned how to calculate what my value really is, because it's a lot of mothers or fathers, parents in general, don't realize the value of what they do in their family. And it's something that comes later in life sometimes when you see your children grow up and what amazing people they become. And then you realize all the time you spent was worth it. But it's not something that is easy to calculate. But you can kind of think about it and kind of estimate how important it is. And a lot of people who work all the time, workaholics that are not with their children very often, they already know that they're losing out. Okay. And I also calculated how much I could make as each. So I calculated how much I could make as my job, future growth potential. So it's like future growth potential. Okay, so future growth potential. So I calculated how much I could make at my job if I stay there for the rest of my life. How much money would that give me? How much could I make as an entrepreneur if I stayed there the rest of my life, worked at it full time? How much could that make me? Calculated how much I could do as a mom if I worked that full time, you know. And I realized also that I had 3 jobs going right now. I had my job, my entrepreneurship, and my mother, being a mother. And then after I calculated all these things, the future growth potential, it became very clear to me that I could make way more money as an entrepreneur, even though in the beginning I might make less. The growth potential was much higher than if I stayed at my job, much higher. And then I also calculated that if I spend time that I want as a mom, that would make me feel better. That would make my son feel better, and our family would be healthier. And it would affect everyone in my family, and my mom who lives with us, my husband, and if we wanted more children. So I thought about all these things and I calculated how much they were worth. Okay, so you can do the same thing. Calculate in your mind, how much is it worth? You know, how much is your job really worth to you? How much is worth to you? Or how much is going on trips around the world worth to you? I know I have a friend, his name is Brian, and he's an entrepreneur, online entrepreneur, and he travels the world and he blogs about his travels and he makes money traveling. So that's what he loves to do. He highly values traveling the world. So what is it that you really value? Like, what is worthwhile to you? Okay. So step number 6. I created an online business. Okay, now the reason I did that was I wanted to do blogging, right? I created a blogging business. Really should change this title. Created a business I love. There you go. So I created a business I love, and the business I created was a blogging business. Okay, so I'm blogging right now. If you're watching this from the link I sent out and you're watching live, you're either watching me on YouTube or you're watching me on my blog. Okay, because those are 2 places I'm broadcasting this live. So I have a blogging business. I blog, and my website is where I share with the world my value, what I've been reading, what I've been studying in human nature and my own finances and different things to help other people grow with their finances and with their ability to blog and create an internet business. So that's what I do. And I created a business that I love, right? So I found my purpose. I told you about that above, right? Number 1. And then I created a business around my purpose. Okay. So I created a blogging business, which was centered on my purpose. Now, for you, if you want to leave your job, and you want to leave jobs forever, you probably need to create a business that you love too, so that you have something worthwhile to do instead of your job, right? To just quit a job and not do anything is actually not very fulfilling, because humans and people in general feel fulfilled when they're working in a divine or purposeful manner where you feel like you're actually contributing, right? So when I'm working and I'm changing people's lives, I'm really making a difference in the world, I feel better about it, okay? So I knew that I needed to create a business that I love. My mind, my heart, everything about me could continue to contribute to society in a way that I enjoy, okay? So I created a blogging business. That was my way of doing it. I don't know about you. You're going to have to figure that out for yourself. Maybe you love to cook, so maybe you'll become a caterer, or maybe you'll blog about cooking, or you'll find something similar, something that you would rather do that you could do a business around. So you need to do a business so that you can pay for, you need to still pay the bills when you quit your job, right? So the business is what pays for that. Yeah, you can create income. I also am an investor. So I invest money, and I also have a beta financial freedom class with students in it, paying students. So these are ways that I bring in money into my business. So I created business, these things that I do, I really love to do, and they bring in income. Granted, it's not as much as my job right now. However, it's income, and I can grow it. I know how to grow it. So that's how that works for me. So that's what I did. That was my step number 6. And let's see, number 7. Step number 7. So hold on, I'm just making more slides. Okay, step number 7. Step number 7 was I filed taxes properly, which I always did. But when I filed my taxes properly with the business that I did, I got more money back. I paid less in taxes, really. I paid less in taxes when I filed with my home business. So, excuse me. That was one of the things that happened. The second thing is I learned how to run a business. That number 1 is only if your business is not making money. And it usually when people start a business, they don't make a lot of money in the beginning because there's so much startup costs. So a lot of people file losses at least for the first 5 years, if they even last that long. But there are tax advantages to that. So my tax advantage was I paid less in taxes, so I had more money to invest in my education, my business, etc. I also learned how to run a business, how to keep track of expenses, how to properly manage the finances. These are things that I learned step number 7. Okay, so when you start a business, you have to learn how to do it properly, set up the proper legal entities, file taxes appropriately, get an accountant. I got an accountant. I didn't have that before I had my business. I actually got an accountant after I had my business because I realized I couldn't file my taxes anymore accurately because that's too much going on with the business. I didn't know how. So I did. All right. And if you don't do this, if you don't set up formality to your business, you're not going to be able to grow with it as a real business. Okay, so it'll always be a pipe dream. Okay, if you don't really set it up, then you're not serious about it. And I was extremely serious. I wanted to leave my job, do something that I love to do. So I set it up properly. All right. Step number 8 is I visualized. Okay, so visualization, I will call it. So what I did was I visualized what I wanted. Visualized my new life after my job, post-job life. Okay? You need to know, you need to see in your head what it is that you actually want. Like, a lot of people will say what they don't want, but they actually don't even know what they do want, right? And if you're only talking about what you don't want and focusing on what you don't want, that's what you're going to have in your life. So if you really don't want your job and that's all you talk about, that's why you're still there, all right? You have to visualize what you want. So I visualized what I wanted. I wanted to be able to travel when I wanted. I wanted to be able to make money online and to log in and see money coming in consistently from my online businesses. I wanted to be able to research and write meaningful articles that actually make a difference in people's lives. I wanted to do things in my life that I felt proud of, like I said, writing, blogging, also raising my son and having more children, being a good wife. And I visualized all these things in my head. I visualized exercising daily, surfing, dancing, talking to friends and making new friends with higher level friends like Barack Obama and Oprah Winfrey, Donald Trump, people in my mind that I felt were real changers in the world. Warren Buffett, Bill and Melinda Gates. In my head, I was imagining them, that I was becoming friends with them, and that we were helping each other with projects that really made a difference on the planet and in the universe and in a whole vibrational frequency of everything. So I was visualizing what I wanted. And this is stuff that I really wanted. So you have to take this step. If you're stuck in complaining mode, you will keep your job forever. But if you start visualizing what your life will be like without your job, you could even create a schedule. This is my ideal, and I did that too. I did one, you can do your ideal day. I think I did that many times, actually. Write out what your ideal day would look like. What would you do up? What would you do after you woke up? When would you eat breakfast? What would you have? Who would you eat breakfast with? Where would you be? In your mansion, in your nice house, where outside at the beach, or where? Like, what would be going on in your ideal day? And write it down. Like, set it up so you know what you're leaving your job for. What is your real purpose in life? What is it that you really want? So this is a very powerful exercise. I recommend that you write out your ideal day. I've done it a couple of times. I'll probably do it again. It's a good reminder of what it is that you really want. Step number 9. Set up an entrepreneur work schedule. So what I did was I scheduled my time. And I set up tasks that I needed to do. And I stuck to it, okay? And someone who was going to be on the Hangout, don't know if he's on, but his name is Javin. He's helped me follow my schedule. I scheduled my time as an entrepreneur, and it became more clear to me that I could do it when I actually followed my schedule. So what I had to do was wake up in the morning and do my work in the morning before my son and my husband and the family woke up, because that was the only time I had to myself where I could do things uninterrupted. So I knew what time I had to wake up, okay? And I knew the tasks that I needed to do when I woke up. I have certain tasks in my business that you do daily, and then you have to do those tasks. So those are already set for me, and I just need to do them. And I also have other tasks like scheduling this webinar every Saturday at 6:30 a.m. Hawaii time, and then developing the materials for the webinar and setting up everything, informational things, promoting webinars. So I have things that I need to do, and I scheduled it. I set up the tasks, and then I followed my schedule. So I have and you can get an accountability partner. If you need to help you. So Javin is my accountability partner. I text him, and some mornings it is really hard to wake up. Like this morning, it was extremely hard for me to wake up. I was with my son for, I don't know how many hours, about an hour and a half. He was coughing, and I was holding him, lifting him up, trying to help him sleep. He finally did go to sleep, but it took a while. So I didn't sleep a lot. And then I was starting to get a little sick myself, so I'm taking care of myself as well. And so it was really hard for me to wake up this morning. However, I texted him and woke up. So you can also do that. You can create an accountability partner so that you can actually follow the schedule you set for yourself. And I actually used a technique with my accountability partner. There's a fear of loss technique that I learned from William Wood. And he told me to find an accountability partner and then give them something that I'm afraid to lose, right? So I actually used checks, and I gave him 2 $500 checks that he's going to cash if I don't wake up, okay? So if I don't text him and say I woke up, he's going to cash my checks. He's already cashed one of them because there's one day that I just didn't wake up. I don't know, I didn't hear my alarm, just didn't get up. So this helps me stay accountable to what I said I wanted to do. And you can also do it as a fear. Also, there's a gain exercise where if you give someone else money, they'll give it to you if you do certain things right. So there's 2 ways of doing that. But I use that fear of loss technique to create that schedule and follow it. So it's really important to follow the schedule. And if you're really serious about your business or what you actually really want to do instead of your job, you will figure out a way to follow a schedule and get it done. Okay. Step number 10. I used a values factor exercise. And I'll explain it right here. So in a book called The Values Factor by Dr. John Demartini, he has an exercise where you figure out your highest values. And that's on my blog, candoitblog.com. You can just search for The Values Factor by Dr. John Demartini. And I went through it. So I did this. So you can actually see on my blog, I've been blogging for years, and I spent through some of his exercises because they're very helpful to me. Dr. John Demartini specializes in rewiring your brain so that you actually change your actions for success that you want. Because if you keep doing things with the same brain, you're going to keep getting the same results, if that makes sense. So I figured out what my highest values are, and that's family, learning, personal growth learning, like being able to read books and go to seminars and things like that and be with people who are growing. So learning is very important to me. My exercise, especially outdoors, is important. Eating and being healthy is very important to me. So these are my highest values, and I did the exercise to figure it out. So it's in the book. Basically, I followed the value, and it's also on my blog, candoitblog.com. So I did the exercise, I figured out my highest values, and then I did this. There's an activity where you can do to release things. To release something you don't want. And in his book, the woman used the technique to release her diabetes. Okay. In book was to release diabetes. So what I did was I released my job. Okay, so I took the same exercise in the book where the woman did it to release her diabetes, and I did it to release my job. Okay, that's all I did. I changed diabetes to my job. Because you wouldn't have your job if you didn't think you needed it, right? You wouldn't have your job if you didn't want it. So if you really don't want your job and you still have it, you have to release your job. So I did this exercise. Basically what I did is I listed 200 benefits I get from my job. The first thing I did was I listed 200 benefits that I get from my job, right? What are 200 benefits? It took me a while, but I found out there are things that I like about my job. That's why I still have it, right? I like the air conditioning. I liked the fact that it was in a beautiful building. I liked my coworkers. I liked that the company gave to charity. I liked my benefits. I liked my steady paycheck. You know, there's a lot of things I really liked about my job. So I listed all the things I really liked for my job. And then what you do is you link the benefits job to your highest values. Not exactly. Let me think. What was the next step? What you do is you take those benefits and you see the ones that are most important, the repeaters, and then you figure out how you can get them somewhere else. So how can you get these benefits outside of your job, of my job? Okay, so I figured out what the benefits were in general. Nice working environment, you know, having supplies I need, having steady pay, you know, things like that. I figured out how I could get these benefits outside of my job. One of the things to get steady pay is I do dividend investing. So I actually started doing it inside my business. So now my business pays regular dividends, which is the basis for giving me steady pay. If the business goes up and down, at least I still have a paycheck. So these are some of the things that I learned how to do because I focused on what the benefits I got from my job and how can I get these benefits from somewhere else, okay? And then I linked, I think there's another step about you link, you somehow link your highest values to getting these benefits outside your job, but I don't remember the last step, so go to my blog. And if you watch, if you see this later, I might improve this. Presentation is a first draft, obviously, but so candoitblog.com. So this is what I did. I did this exercise. It took me actually months to do it, but it's highly valuable. If you want to do it too, get the book, The Values Factor by Dr. John Demartini. Go through the book. In the beginning of the book, he talks about highest values, do that exercise. And near the end of the book, he talks about this exercise where this woman used it to get rid of her diabetes. And I think it's like the values factor in your health is that chapter. But that's where I found the exercise that I used to release my job. It really opened my eyes to why I was there, because I didn't realize all the benefits that I got from working until I did this exercise and realized, wow, that's why I keep my job, because I get all these benefits. And now I know how I can leave it because I can get these benefits somewhere else. Okay. Step number 11. We're almost done, guys. But if you really want to take your job, you'll take the effort, right, to do these steps. Okay, so step number 11 was I talked to my husband about it, right? Because my husband is also a breadwinner in my family. We live in Hawaii, so our expenses are kind of high, which is why we're both working. And in Hawaii, a lot of families both work. So it's very rare you find, I mean, sometimes you do find it because maybe they have a lot of children. Like there's this one woman I know has 4 children. So she doesn't work a job. She's a family, stays with her family, but that's because 4 children, that's a lot of work. So it's like much more work than a job. So anyway, I made a plan with my husband. So you have to get your spouse on board. Now, if you're single, then you don't have to make a plan with your husband. All right. But if you have a spouse or your family that you live with, like your parents or whatever, it's good to talk to them and make a plan, because it's like you're on a team. right? It's like team family, right? So you work as a team. Family, you work as a team. Now, if you're by yourself, like I said, you can skip this step because you don't have a husband or a wife, right? I should also put wife here. A lot of times what happens is it's actually step number 11 is with a wife, because it's usually this man. I've heard so many stories where the guy wants to be an entrepreneur and then he has to talk to his wife about it, right? And they work as a team. So in my case, I talked with my husband because I had a husband, but whoever it is, your spouse, work as a team with the other people in your family so that you can do what you want to do. So I spoke to my husband about the value I give as a mother and that the value he gives working his job. And he really loves his job. He's a director at a hospice company, really enjoys what he does. Much more than I enjoyed my job. I never really enjoyed, I did enjoy my job, but I didn't want to stay there. I knew I didn't want to do it. Whereas my husband, he does like his job, and it's like a stepping stone to the next thing. And he sees his job as part of his integral mission, whereas I did not. So I talked to him about it. And we decided that, it was okay for me to leave it. And I talked to him about it for years. So it wasn't okay before. However, recently it became okay. So we planned it together, right? And I also talked to him about retiring him. So he's looking forward to that. And we discussed it. And we knew that if I did not quit my job and work on my entrepreneur business longer, I would never be able to retire him. So we realized the importance of me working on this entrepreneurship, and also on the importance of me being home more to be a mother to our son, because I like to spend more time with my son. Doing okay, there it goes. Okay. Make a plan. Okay, so I actually calculated our family's cash flow if I quit, so he would understand how that would work. He really wanted to know that. I talked about the tasks that I would be doing. As an entrepreneur. Talked about goals. And this is about being a mother and being an entrepreneur. Being a mother, wife, entrepreneur. So we had goals like wanting more children, right? And we knew that if we wanted more children, I needed to quit my job because it was just too much. 3 jobs, being an entrepreneur, having a full-time job, and being a mom was just too much work. So we knew things that we really wanted. And when we talked about it together and we created a plan, that's when it becomes more real. And if your family is not on board, it's really hard, okay, to do this. So it's important to discuss it. Okay, I'm going to insert new slide. So that's a step I took. If you have a family, do step 11, very important. If you don't have a family, then you can skip step 11. And usually it's a lot easier to do entrepreneurship if you don't have a family, because you don't spend so much time. Hold on a second. I'm like zoomed in for some reason. Let's see how I can change that view. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I'm kind of fiddling with my thing and getting a little confused. But anyway. Okay. So I'm going to move on to the next step. Okay. So step number, wait, hold on. Okay, I'm on some kind of, oh, I see. I clicked this by accident. See, how can I get away? Okay, I figured it out. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so step number 11. Okay, step number 12. If you're single and you don't have a family, usually you have more time to be an entrepreneur and have a job, so you don't necessarily have to quit. You can actually just keep going doing both because you have more time. As a mother or a father, you spend a lot of time parenting and with your child, so it's like a full-time job. So parents understand what I'm saying. So if you're a parent, step number 11 will help you. Okay, paid off all my debts. Okay, so number one is I increased my cash flow when I paid up all my debts, yeah? What does that mean? I made more money. So during the times when I had my job, I actually created a lot of debt and I also paid it all off. And I did that so that, for one thing, I would have more money coming to me. Instead of having another bill to the debt collectors, I had money to myself. And that money I used to invest in investments that created passive income, which also helped me to be able to quit my job because I have other money coming in besides my job. So paying off debts has a lot of good things. You can invest your extra money into investments, yeah, into passive income vehicles. That's what I did. So that I could make passive income. And I paid off my debts, made passive, and then you don't have an extra burden. You don't have a debt burden when you quit your job. That doesn't mean you have to pay off your debts, but I have to admit that it made it a lot easier for me to be able to leave my job when I knew that I had no debt. So a lot of people probably have a lot of debt. I know that mortgages really make people feel like they have to work forever, or school loans or other kinds of debt. They tend to chain you to where you are. So if you really focus on paying off your debt and increasing your savings, then you're going to be able to leave your job much faster. And that might mean changing your lifestyle and just spending less money so that you can pay off your debts faster. But that was something that really made a difference for me. So I became completely debt-free in April of 2016. And I quit my job in December of 2016. My husband became completely debt-free in October of 2014. So we're both completely debt-free. And that helped a lot in our decision to let me become an entrepreneur full-time. Step number 13, set up a systematic savings plan. Okay, so this is really important. It's the pay yourself first concept, right? Always pay yourself first. So whatever money you bring in, put it aside for you first. And that's really important. So I set up a system. Where I pay myself first. And I use that money to create passive income. And I set that up back when I was in 2009. So, and it started really in full force in 2010. So that's when my system began. I started paying myself first very systematically, automatically debited from paycheck. And I created a savings account, right? So I have a savings account with at least 2 months of income in it. And you don't touch that savings account. It's a buffer. It acts as a cushion, and it stabilizes your life and your finances. When you have 2 months of savings in an account that just sits there, it gives your mind stability. It makes it less volatile. You're less likely to make quick buying decisions. You're less likely to spend money or jump at, hot stock picks. You're less likely to do things like that, which are very If you don't have enough money, you can have regular transfers from your spouse if your spouse makes enough money to support you and your family. So that's one way you can do it. You can do it with dividends that you make from your investments while you were working. I do a combination of both right now. I also have business income too, when that covers it. So I have 3 sources of income. So that's how you do that. But you still need to do your savings. And that plan also has a budget in it of where your money will go. Budget your expenses. And then also invest, right? Invest regularly for income. And that makes it easier to be independent and do your own thing. When you have that passive income coming in, it's just far, far easier. And if you need to know where to get passive income, just go to my blog, yesfinanciallyfree.com. I have a lot of resources on that blog, and it also talks about passive income, how to create it, things like that. Okay, where are we at? Number 13. Oh, we're almost done. Okay, step number 14. And it's been an hour, so I'm going to be wrapping up very soon. Oh, I started doing this in the other one, but systematize investments and income. So the real thing about a job, for people who are in a job that hate it, they're really in that job a lot of the times for the steady income, right? They need the money, basically. So if you systematize your investments and your income through investments, then you will be able to leave your job because you will get incomes from somewhere else. So I take my savings. I take my savings that exceeds. I take my excess savings. Okay, so you know I have that cushion account, right? So I take my excess because I am, okay, let's put it this way. I have weekly transfers to my savings account. And I still do. As an entrepreneur right now, I still have weekly transfers to my savings account. And that has come from money that I've made. Okay, so I just quit my job, like I said. So I have some business income, I have dividend income, and my spouse has not yet had to contribute to my my weekly income, but it's very low, so I can make it, and then you have to create that for yourself. So you have a system where you make weekly transfers to your savings account, and then you leave at least 2 months, could be more, okay, of your income, 2 to 3 months, right, in your investment account, in your savings account. And then you invest the extra money in tiered investing. And I got this also from Demartini. You can read about it in How to Make a Hell of a Profit and Still Get to Heaven by Dr. John Demartini. In that book, he has the tiered investing system. Basically, what it means is after you save your income and you have it in your savings account as your cushion, then you invest in stable things. And he recommends bonds. Back when he wrote the book, bonds made a lot more than they do now. So I don't necessarily recommend you do bonds, but basically you invest in something that makes more interest than a savings account, okay? And you gradually get higher and higher. So maybe you get blue chip stock companies, and then you venture into more risky stock companies, or maybe you buy real estate, whatever it is. But you basically keep doing this. You invest extra money in tiered investing, and he goes through the process. But you start with savings, and then you invest the same amount that you invested in your savings. You invest it in something very conservative that makes more interest than your savings. And then when you have enough money to invest in the third level, you invest in something that's a little more risky but has a greater likelihood of return. and so on and so on. So that's how that works. So you systemize that. And then what I do is I collect dividends. Okay, so I actually pay myself with my investments. Dr. DeMartini doesn't talk about that, but I do this, and it really helps. Because you need to have, well, for me, I had a need to have steady income. So the dividends from my investments provide that cushion for me so that I can have that steady income part, even though it's not as much as my business income is and can be, but it does give me a stable baseline. Okay, so that's what I did. And then the last step, step number 15, I calculated tax difference. What I did was I called my accountant, and I had my accountant calculate how much in taxes we would pay if I kept my job. And I spelled calculate wrong. Right, hold on. There you go, calculate. And then the accountant also calculated how much in taxes we would pay if I quit my job. Okay, so when the accountant calculated the tax difference, I realized that if I quit my job, we would actually save $22,000 in taxes. Really, one of the reasons that it became even more easy to quit, because if I quit, the tax savings to our family would increase significantly. Now, it's not as much as I was making at my job. However, it was substantial enough, and with other opportunities and with the money that was coming in, we decided that it was enough that I could quit. Okay, so that made a big difference. A lot of people don't realize that working more jobs doesn't necessarily get you much more money, because the more jobs you work, or the more you work at your job, the more money you make at your job, you actually jump up tax brackets and you pay more in taxes. So sometimes it's actually better not to work as much and have more time to focus on things that you really, really would rather be doing with your life, like being with your family. You know, some people work all day, all night, and they're never with their kids, and then they die and realize that they wasted their life and they never spend any time with their children, which is a really sad tragedy. And I don't want that to happen to any of you watching this. And so that's why I created this presentation, was so that you could see ways to create a lifestyle that you feel good about. And maybe this is something that you could, I've met a lot of people who they do multiple jobs, maybe 3 jobs, and they do it because they want more money. However, they don't realize that if they cut out the jobs, they would actually pay less in taxes, and then they would maybe do better at one job and maybe get an increase in pay from there, instead of having to spread yourself so thin, and then you're actually paying more in taxes and you're not really making much more, if that makes sense. So I calculated the tax difference, and that made a big difference. Okay, so thank you for being on this webinar. Really appreciate it. And I want to let you know that I'm here for you. So if you have any questions, just contact me at my blog, candoitblog.com, or you can do the other blog, yes, financiallyfree.com. Those are my 2 blogs. There's a contact form on them that you can always fill out. If you go to candoitblog.com, you're going to see a page with a guy with this curly hair saying, check out this system. That's the blogging system that I use. It's a very good system. I've done a lot of different kinds of blogging systems. This system I use actually does make it easier to create income. It has a community of entrepreneurs that help each other find strategies to increase our sales. So that I highly recommend. That's at candoitblog.com. If you just enter your email, they show you a free presentation of what it's about. So I highly recommend you check it out, especially if you're interested in doing internet marketing. If you want to work with me and other internet marketers, that's where you would go, candoitblog.com, put in your email. That email goes to me, and then I send you updates on future presentations that I do, like this one, and also the world of internet marketing and how people can make it actually profitable for them. So that's candoitblog.com. If you go to yesfinanciallyfree.com, you're going to see articles about financial freedom, to get a free PDF book on Working Parents Guide to Financial Freedom, which is something I created because I was a working parent, and it helps set up the base so that you can also quit your job and become more of, have more time with your kids. Okay, so thank you. Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to be making this more presentable, and I'll put it up on my blog, but I really appreciate you here. So I'm going to finish off the presentation by saying aloha, and it's light outside now. My son was coughing and I was a little worried, but he stopped, so I'm really happy about that. So hopefully he's sleeping and resting. And I really appreciate you here today on this live webinar. We do this every Saturday at 6:30 a.m. Hawaii time. That's 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. Now in the winter, they have daylight savings, so it changes. But right now it's at that time. So I'll see you on the next live webinar. Definitely check out my blog, candoitblog.com. And aloha. See you next time. Bye.